All right, we are live. Dave Kittle, Tony Maritato, PT Breakfast Club. So, I mean, I guess we got to talk about, I don't want to talk about it, but I guess we got to talk about what's top of the news across a lot of social media. Hurdle and Brown, physical and aquatic therapy. Have you followed this at all?
I have. I've from afar. I've viewed your comments and Rick Owenda's and all that. And
I haven't really had any comments. I try to
oh,
stay out of these.
I've just seen your post, or you
Yeah.
shared Rick Owenda's post or something like that. That's all. That's all I know.
So, I mean, it's one of those deals where, it's frustrating to me, uh, just because, like, okay, so they were doing it wrong, obviously. It was a $22 million case. It covered, like, I had the dates up here, but a pretty long period of time. I don't know, it's 2007 to 2021. So what is that? 14 years, I think it was. $22 million, like a bunch of therapists and admin plus the two owners. I mean, it's one of those things where, just when I look at the sign, the name, the try to pick up on the stuff that's not in the media. It doesn't necessarily, from outside looking in, look like, okay, this was this mastermind. Like I remember, I mean, I came out of Florida. I remember growing up, South Florida, you had people that were like paying $1,000 to put patients on a bus to bring them into the clinic just to run up their bills. Like I've seen pictures of DME companies that don't even have a physical location. They just have a shared space and they're doing 2 million a year. Like there are other examples that are far more egregious looking from the outside in. But then the other thing that I always wonder about is like, you know, I've been in physical therapy clinics since like 2001 or 2000. Having massage therapists and athletic trainers and personal trainers working as aides has been going on forever. Inappropriate billing for those services is 1000% illegal, but it's been going on forever. And I just wonder, like, there's got to, I mean, you can't throw a rock. To quote Elon Musk, it's not like you found a worm in an apple. The apple has been completely replaced by worms. We have a ball of worms in most of these situations. I just wonder why this one, made it into the news. Why more aren't being examined and discovered, investigated and prosecuted? And then it's like, why am I even bothering in the profession? I'm trying to do it right. I'm not making any money doing it right. I should just step away, deliver the experience I want to deliver, eliminate the name physical therapy, just approach it as I am somebody who can build an experience that takes care of patients for less expense and more profit with less to no regulation. These cases just remind me, like, why am I trying to bash my head through a wall when I could just go around it? What do you think?
Well, I mean, when these cases come up, I don't have that same feeling because like you're doing it ethically and you're serving a certain population with a certain type of service or whatever. Um, but yeah, it happens a lot. Never a practice that I worked with or know, owners or whatever, but I do know intimately another practice in the greater, New York, New Jersey area that the therapist, if they, if we interviewed them, if we brought them on and if they no longer work there or whatever, and if they wanted to share it publicly on a live stream like this or on a podcast or whatever, they would say that a lot of these bigger, medium to larger size practices, without naming names right now, are are doing some of those things that this Hurdle and Brown case. I don't know specifically how bad because I know you said, or some, maybe Rick Wenda, somebody commented that they got caught with some email transmission that said like we need to work on creative billing, which of course in our world, like it's very black and white, like you're either doing it properly or you're not. So um but there's a lot of corporates that seem to be doing stuff like this where, for example, insurance contract is saying, it needs to be one-on-one direct patient care, and they're billing, 3 or 4 or whatever patients per hour. And when HSS or some other big hospital organization that this practice is affiliated with, when they come in to do their audits, magically they change their schedule and they put the Medicare patient, the Medicare Part B patients, one-on-one on looking on the schedule. Now, of course, whatever they told the patients, they're going to come in at whatever time, and
Right.
they're all intertwined and they're all treated, at the same time anyway. That's, maybe someone could argue, I mean, Rick Wenda would not, but some would argue, oh, that's kind of like the gray area. Some patients come in late, some patients come in early. We booked that Medicare patient for 9 a.m. One-on-one. But you and I both know, in these busier practices, they're all treated at the same time. The therapist is bouncing between patients, and then they're billing all the one-on-one codes, not the group codes. Anyway, we could go on and on about this. Why aren't more of them uh, caught or brought to case like this? Now that's interesting. I think it might have to do with some bigger ties when they're affiliated with some of these hospital organizations. Maybe, I don't know. Is it? Am I just hypothesizing, or is there some other some connection with like bigger government bodies? I don't know. I don't know why more are not caught, but I know for sure the in-network practices that are medium to larger size corporates they seem to be breaking a lot of these rules, even if they're not, sending emails back and forth about, the paper trail of it.
Yeah, and I think this just one step further incentivizes, VC-backed companies coming in, because a VC-backed company has the deep pockets, has the money behind them to do it right, to hire the attorneys, to hire the compliance, to, pay all the bills and lose money for a decade before they turn a profit. But also, I think this is where, look, if you're a mom and pop provider, you're a small provider trying to earn a living, trying to do things right. And we see it in the Facebook groups. People ask questions that clearly they have no idea what they're doing. They're expected to know what they're doing, but they don't. So I'm sure they're making mistakes. Um, if I'm putting somebody else's money and business at risk, it's a very different situation than if I'm putting my own livelihood at risk. These guys, again, I have no idea. I'm looking at the outside of their building is really what I'm looking at. And I'm just like, it just doesn't sound like they were these masterminds trying to craft the perfect scheme. And you wouldn't do it for, 20 years. You would like get in, drive up all the revenue and get out. So yes, they did it wrong. Yes, they are prosecuted. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be. I'm just saying at some point here, the balance is tipped over and the risk outweighs the benefit of being a physical therapist, being a healthcare provider, being in a licensed profession where everyone seems to be against you. Your peers are working against you. Your compliance people are working against you. The attorneys are working against you. You take one step in the wrong direction for zero reward. It's not even like you're making millions a year and you're willing to take the risk. Let's see here. David's on. SoFlo is crazy. I'm sure David's experienced some crazy stuff in South Florida. But let's talk about a post that came in, a chat that came in from Craig. So Craig, I'm sorry, what was Craig's last name?
Craig Lee, I believe.
Yeah.
So he owns one of the franchise locations of iMove, that's affiliated with Michael Gorman. Michael Gorman started iMove. He's been on my show a bunch of times. Friend of the pod, friend of the Breakfast Club, friend of the Dave Kittle show.
Oh,
So Craig Lee has got one of his locations.
I don't know anything about that. I've been in a tunnel. Okay, cool. So Craig was asking us basically, hey, what do we do about engaging with kind of a younger generation of clinicians, whether we're talking about younger clinicians that we want to attract as the next generation of employees, younger individuals that we want to attract as patients in the clinic. I'm not involved in the professional organization, so I'm just going to say my best guess is uh, we just don't have the right messaging, and I hate to be that old head who is trying to say what young people need to hear, but my best guess is we're not touching the pain points that are important to them across social media. We're not speaking the language that they're using across social media. And I'm the first to say, like, I'm probably completely out of touch with what a 25-year-old who just graduated and what they're looking for, because I'm still a little bit of that generation where it's like, oh, you think you get a job and you think you're going to work there for a while, and maybe not 40 years, but 10 years or 5 years. And I just don't think that's the economy we live in these days. I think we live in an economy where maybe you're going to come for 6 months or a year, and you're already like ready to move on to the next thing. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I've said this before, but the one thing that has been working with me, and let's say in the past 6 to 12 months, I've hired 3 physical therapists that are all in their 20s. So, Craig, if you want, you can model what I've done, which is, and this is my whole, like, of course, I pay Sturdy McKay for his, and I get nothing from it, but for his PT match. So he like screens clients, he screens physical therapists. He puts up certain job posts, and the candidates contact him. He kind of filters them, and then he introduces them to me if we want to move forward and talk. So that's one of the avenues. But the bigger avenue, that hired me one therapist in 2024. But late in 2024, I hired 2 other therapists that were all from my method that I've talked about before, Craig, which is uh, I post organically on Facebook and LinkedIn. Craig, you've liked my you've liked my post. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Where it's like, make up to 120,000 compensation package, 120,000 per year, treat 4 to 6 patients per day, mentorship coaching included, advancement opportunities included, that type of thing. So really, really like that short. Those buzzwords seem to work best. Like they want coaching and mentorship or guidance and advancement opportunities. They do like, it seems like the 20 to 30 year olds, it seems like they prefer the dollar amount publicly, right? So that, and then also, Craig, what he has worked even better is that I manually message. I do cold prospecting. Now, of course, you can pay someone to do this, but I go in LinkedIn, I cold message every physical therapist in the area, and I say, we're looking to hire PTs for home visits, 60-minute home visits in Brooklyn, Manhattan. They can make, and then it's the same dollar amount, make up to this dollar amount, treat 4 to 6 patients per day, mentorship included, advancement opportunities included. And that's the cold message. But at the end of the cold message, it says, know anyone who might be interested, question mark. So I'm cold messaging Tony, but I don't say, Tony, I'm not trying to pitch you, Tony. I'm trying to say, who might you know, Tony? Because sometimes people like Tony or others will say, well, I'm not going to refer this to my friend. I'm interested. Like, I want to lean into this, right? And Craig, I've done this hundreds of times. So in 2024, and in 2024, I don't know the number, but I probably sent that type of message to probably like 200 therapists, maybe something like that, maybe 300. I don't know, somewhere in that range. Um, so if you live in an area that doesn't have a lot of physical therapists, well, you know, you got to do what you got to do. But in the New York City area, there's a ton of therapists. I'll send this to like the corporates nearby. I'll send it to their clinic directors. I don't care. I have no shame at all. I the response rate is very low. The response rate is maybe 5 or 10%. But in that response rate, some people will reply like, "Hey, I don't know anyone, but I'll keep you in mind, whatever." And I'm like, "All right, great, thanks. Take care. Have a great day." But then sometimes the responses are like, "Can you tell me more? Can you send more information? How many patients does this include?" And I'm like, I already wrote above, like that's how many patients, like 4 to 6 a day, or they'll ask questions, right? So then they're interested, and then you engage them in a conversation. I send them my FAQ document that's like 6 or 7 pages. So it answers all their questions. Then I'm like, okay, did you read the FAQ and you're still interested? Okay, now let's schedule a 15-minute brief phone call. And that is me doing all that digitally without, wasting a lot of time speaking with people that are not the right fit. So that's what I'm doing that's working right now, that's engaging 20 or 30-year-old physical therapists, at least in the New York City area.
I wonder too, and I listen to other people talking, and lately I've been listening to a lot of younger people on YouTube talk about their businesses. These are 20 to 30-year olds. And I'm like, when I shared this story last time, I grew up, I was young, I could start a business, I had no commitment, nothing. But it seems like, you know, a young person today is going to have a hard time buying a house. Somebody who wants to buy a house, start a family, like the cost of housing, the cost of interest rates, all of that stuff's going to be more expensive. Um, Talking to that person who, maybe my niece is a SLP. She's been licensed maybe 2 years now. She loves travel assignments. She takes 13-week travel assignments in all these different places, gets to, appreciate and kind of figure out what she likes to do. Um, so again, I think it's hard for us to put our heads in the head of a 20-year-old, 25-year-old, just because we're not in that situation. More debt. When I graduated, I had zero debt. I think I was paying like $5,000 a semester for school. It was nothing. So now you've got somebody coming out, lots of debt, hard to find housing, not necessarily ready to settle down anyway. So what we're trying to pitch to them, whether it's a professional organization trying to pitch, membership, or it's a business trying to pitch employment, we're not putting the offer that they want in front of them. We're using the wrong bait. And with that, I think, and I've made this call to action forever. I'm like, where's the next group that's going to replace me? David is the next kind of generation, and he's not even that young. He looks young, but like, where are
David L, who we had on the show.
Yeah, yeah, he's watching right now. So he just posted 120,000 a year. You know, that's what a lot of people are looking for. Um, but if you're not committing fraud, you might not be able to afford that. Yeah, he's 31. Like, you're past it. I'm talking about younger than you. You just look younger. But anyway, point being, where are the guys and the girls that are going to replace us, both on social media, on, platforms? Like, where's the PT Breakfast Club for the 20-year-olds? I think that's what I would love to see. I would love to see young, who is it on LinkedIn? Gosh, my brain is not functioning this morning.
So
But
speaking about a younger PT, whatever happened with Tim that had that popular YouTube channel? Is he still posting videos? Tim
Tim who?
something on YouTube. He's got the glasses, physical therapist.
Oh, PT Progress, or
Something like that.
Fratricelli.
There you go. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So I've never talked to him in person. Seems like a great guy. He took a big break for a while. He was gone for a while. I don't know what he was doing, but he just came back. I did notice that his YouTube channel started to grow again. He started posting more recent content. So anyway, there are some great young people. I'm looking through LinkedIn right now that are doing stuff, and I think they're going to pick up the torch and hopefully take us in a better direction. But I just think it's hard for us to really kind of empathize and connect with and relate to somebody who's just living in a completely different world than we grew up with. I can't find it. All right. What have you been doing? We were talking about Google Ads versus direct to physician marketing and some other stuff.
Yes. Okay. So last week I had a call with my colleague Sturdy McKay, and I want to get let me give you a scenario, and I want to hear how you would classify or how you would analyze this. So my question would be, all right, Tony, let's say you get a new patient and I'm running Google ads and a little bit of Facebook ads, and you're running some Facebook ads, but no Google ads.
Yeah, correct.
All right.
Right now, yeah, no Google ads to speak
L-
of.
l- let me ask it like for how you're running it. So, okay, Tony, you're running Facebook ads for the SoftWave offer. Let's say you get a new client from the Facebook ads. His name is, Tom. You get Tom through the Facebook, and Tom and his family have no history with Total Therapy Solutions. They didn't even know you guys existed. They never did business with you. And then in a month or two, Tom, Tom's wife starts with you guys. Whether it's the other $500 software offer, she does it, or she becomes like a insurance based patient, whatever. In terms of marketing attribution, would you say that just Tom came from the Facebook ads? Because you're trying to gauge, okay, the Facebook ads, and then you're trying to gauge like your patient experience or whatever, or the word of mouth or whatever you want to call internal referral, internal word of mouth, whatever. Would you classify Tom's wife as coming like the lifetime value of Tom, like Tom, and then it came to Tom and his wife? Does Tom's wife in this fake example, does she have the marketing attribution that is connected to that Facebook ad? Because if there was no Tom, you wouldn't have had his wife Mary or whatever. So do you attribute the lifetime value of that conversion of Tom to also be his wife because she started because of Tom and Tom found you guys because of the Facebook ad? Or do you chalk it up as Tom came from the Facebook ad, but Mary came from your results, your patient experience, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, historically, I would say Tom came from Facebook. Then anything coming from Tom is due to internal marketing, internal. I generally would not attribute the credit to Facebook, but I absolutely understand what you're saying.
So you said exactly what Sturdy said, which is
Yeah.
the marketing attribution, and because again, I spent a lot of money in February on Google ads, right? So then Sturdy was like, "Wow, you spent a lot of money," and then I was like, "Yeah, well, here's why." And he's like, "No, you don't have to justify it. I get it." And so I'm gonna do a spreadsheet for he and I of like the names of the people who converted in February, and then start tracking their lifetime value, like how much they spent with us, like moving forward, right? Um, I want to say that Tom and Mary would be attributed to that Facebook ad because without Tom, you don't get Mary. And I understand, like for us, like the patient experience and the internal marketing and all that. Tom referred Mary because Mary might have came with him into your place and she saw the whole, community, the whole experience, all that. Um, so I get what you're saying. I get what Sturdy is saying, that it comes from the patient experience, the client experience, the all the things you've talked about before, the easy parking, the easy scheduling, your great vibe and aesthetic and everything with your whole practice and all the patients joking around and everyone knowing each other's names and all that. But in terms of tracking the dollars of a paid campaign, I'm putting Mary in Tom's lifetime value for that Facebook ad campaign, because if you don't have Tom, you don't have Mary. So
You're right.
without that lead that came from the original Facebook ad, you don't have the lifetime value of either of those clients.
You're right. I think if you really wanted to geek out on this, you would probably start to, build like a flow chart, and you'd give a percentage attribution to say, okay, maybe a percentage of Mary's value goes to Facebook and a percentage goes to my internal marketing methods. But then I think
Like
we start going so deep down that rabbit hole that it's like, does it really matter at the end of the day? Am I a marketing company that needs to, break it down to this level to impress a client who's going to hire me for marketing? If I compare that to what I do in the clinic, it's like, well, did the lat pull make him strong, or did the chest press make him strong? And does it really matter? All he needs to do is pick up heavy stuff.
it only matters when you're trying to map out the how much money I spent or deployed on one of these paid ad campaigns, and then looking at it and like, hey, should I do this again? Should I put this amount of money up front again at that amount, and tracking like how many patients, how many clients does it get me, and then the total lifetime value of that. Because again, it's all about like you see enough YouTube stuff, right? So you see all
Yeah.
these YouTube ads about, or all these YouTube videos about ROAS, return on ad spend. So we're talking about the return on ad spend. So of course, like the marketers and the agencies out there, they absolutely would include 100% of Mary's lifetime value and her spend, because it came through Tom, and Tom, activated through your Facebook ad campaign. So
I'm going to show you guys just what's going on. I'm sharing my screen right now. And really, I'm pivoting a little bit again on this, so I'm bringing this on the screen. Did you see when I shared this picture of my belly with the red circle and the slash?
I did not. No,
Okay, so
let me pull it up full screen.
yeah, I don't think we need to. But basically, I was sitting at home, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna create a bigger program. I'm going to roll in a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to go more this direction. So I don't think I particularly said it in this, but this was an ad targeted to, it says men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. I'm the target
Nice.
demographic. I've said that before. When I was in my 20s, I couldn't use myself. I had to use the saying, "You're not your target demographic." Now I am. I've aged into it. I've gained into it. So I took a picture of my belly with a circle and a slash through it. I had ChatGPT help me hit all the pain points, and I put a $20 a day budget on this. And this was the result. Now I did it a 10-mile radius from my clinic location. 3,100 views, 17,000 or 1,700 reached, 3 leads that were generated. These are people that filled out the form, gave me their email, their name, their phone number. Spent $57 total so far. I brought the ad spend from 20 down to 3 on Saturday and Sunday. I haven't brought it back up just because I didn't want to pay for ads over the weekend, but I didn't want to stop it. So this is where I am right now. The one below that, this one ran $5 a day. Total spend was only $35 basically. It had 70 link clicks, but this didn't have a lead gen form. These are just link clicks that came into our website and a landing page. I don't have a good tracking mechanism. I can tell you that of the 3 lead gen, that $20 a piece, none of them have converted yet. I responded to them within a couple hours. I shot them an email back saying, "Hey, thanks so much for your interest. This is, information about us. If you'd like to schedule a call or an evaluation," but no response, no reply.
That, that's it. I mean, you gotta be hitting on some emotional triggers here, Tony. You gotta
I
be
know.
like, do you feel overweight and out of shape, and how does that make you feel? And I mean, come on, hit
Well,
hit
so
hit
so
hit some triggers so these folks reply and
So here's
engage.
the thing. So this is where we say, okay, where do we go with this next? So I'm looking at this, and again, I'm a total novice. I'm doing this more for fun than I am for actual like lead gen. Uh, I mean, just I don't have it pulled up, but I would roughly say like I think I did 3 evals yesterday. I have 2 evals today. Like I'm not in the need. I don't have the urgency for more patients, but I want to see if I can make this work. So long story short, what I'm going to do is I'm pivoting a little bit. I'm putting more organic content out there. And if one of those organic posts hit, then I'll put money behind it. But I'm also putting together, and I asked ChatGPT, and I don't know if I brought this up last time. Is anybody using, I think it's just like Men's Weight Loss Club. And nobody out there had branded or is using the name Men's Weight Loss Club. And then I'm asking ChatGPT to help me tease out more of the pain points for adult men who are probably fathers. There's a great company, Fit Father Project. Have you ever heard of them?
It sounds familiar. I know a practice owner in in New Jersey, Mark Rubenstein, he's doing something like that. It sounds similar, but I don't know.
Let me pull this up. Now, I don't know anything about it directly, but I've been following and researching and looking at what this guy is doing. He's not a physical therapist, but he is a healthcare provider. He's not a chiropractor either. What's NMD? Is that naturopathic or something?
Naturopathic medical doctor. I mean, it
I
sounds
don't know.
almost made up, but okay. I don't know.
Anyway, I would guess he's doing 7 figures easy with this site. But I love the concept. I want to be these guys who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, who are making the transformation. I want a community of individuals that understand my pain points and I can talk to and I can resonate with. The same way, Curves blew up because it focused on women in a specific demographic. This is touching a very specific demographic. And my hunch is, especially once you get into the higher payment options, you're also eliminating, a certain demographic. So I want to be among my peers. So I'm like, all right, well, why don't I just do that here? Why don't I just say, let's do a 6-week? And he did 6 weeks. Just I took it off already, but why don't I just do a 6-week program 2 times a week? You come in, we do a weigh-in, we do some girth measurements. We have access to the equipment we have here on site. We make it a $3,600 offer for 6 weeks, but then a portion of that might be covered by health insurance. I don't mind letting people use the health insurance they've paid for. So now that's what I'm developing like today and this week. And I'm going to try and launch that before the end of the week to see if I can get some interest. I've had just patients here in my clinic who are like, hey, I saw your Facebook ad or your Facebook post. They didn't know it was an ad with the guy with the belly. And what are you doing? I want to be part of it. How much does it cost and what can I do? So I think that'll probably resonate.
Why on that website, for the audience, you said this website is probably doing 7 figures. Why do you say that? Because it's like it's really clean and crisp and professional, and it has the before and after photos and just the design of the website and the flow of it. Why do you say that?
There's that, but then also would have been a couple years ago, and they've just grown since then. I looked at their SEO, I looked at their average traffic, I looked at other metrics that you could find, and then I compared those to other similar sites that are sharing their numbers. And just, it's reasonable to make the assumption that if you have 1.2 million visitors, you're going to make this much revenue based on the program that you're selling. And it's just comparing usually it's within the Russell Brunson group, the ClickFunnels group. Like those guys share a lot of numbers and finances, and they're like, if we do this, we make this much. So that's what I'm comparing what I see behind the scenes with that project.
It is a good example. So if you guys are listening somewhere, you should jump over to the YouTube on Learn Medicare Billing or the Dave Kittle Show or PT Pintcast to see that. What was it? Fit Bodies
Father Project. I'll put the link in here. And I think they even have some, I'm not part of it, but I think they even have some affiliate programs where, again, usually once you get into that world, you're getting a lot of conversion, a lot of traffic, and a lot of sales. So I shared the link if you want to check it out. But I mean, this is what I used to do back in the day. I would find something like this that I liked, that I thought was doing well. I would confirm based on any of the SEO and like traffic trackers. Similar Web is a website that does it. Neil Patel has a website that does it. There's a bunch of free websites out there. And then I would say, okay, these guys are hitting 1 million views. We did this with Hims and Hers. Like these guys are clearly successful. Let's reverse engineer what's going on. And let's see what kind of lessons we can glean from that. And going back to Craig's original question about young people, that's where I would go. I would say, okay, what are the organizations that are attracting young people today? What are those organizations doing successfully? What are their media presence? What are the messaging? What are the words that they're using? And then I would try to bring in young people with that kind of mindset, or I would try to emulate what those mid 20-year-olds are doing. But I would have to find those organizations first, to model what's already been proven successful.
Right on. What are some others, like I think you mentioned maybe a week or two ago, like Mr. Beast, like that type of stuff, that or other or actual, like where those 20 and 30-year-olds are actually spending their money, like and look at those businesses and what's attracting them, like what are other examples?
Yeah, I like to see where the money is, and so even if we're going to look at, okay, so let's say consumers, let's say I want to attract more young consumers into my clinic. What are young consumers buying? What's the messaging behind that? So I don't even know. I'm going to make a couple guesses here. I don't think this is the right demographic for that young, but like we talked about, Liquid Death. Liquid
Yep.
Death continues to be successful, continues to grow. You look at the branding, the
Because
messaging.
because of branding, yeah. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
it's just
100%.
carbonated water. There are so many seltzer waters, it's insane. But it's got a different ring to it, a different
And it
branding,
didn't even
different
start
name.
as carbonated water. It just started as plain water in a can. So I also would look at like what's going on with NIL, what's going on with these young athletes, and where that money is coming from, and what they're doing. What are their media accounts doing, and how are they attracting the funds? But I don't know. I'm not in that world. What's going to happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to make a prediction right now.
Uh-oh,
Uh,
hold on. Here we go. Here we go.
my 16-year-old isn't the conventional kid. Like he's more kind of alternative on the perimeter. So I'm not going to use him as an example. But when my twins, they're 14, they just turned 14 in February. When they start hitting 18, 19, 20, I'm going to look at what they're buying, who they're listening to. Like, I don't even know the music they're listening to. I am that dad. I can't understand the words in the music they listen to. But I will use them for my market demographic so that I can see where they're spending their time and their money, their attention, and that's where I'm going to go, and that's what I'm going to model. But right now, I'm still not accessing that group.
When Craig Lee had first reached out to us in that message, I thought he was talking about attracting young patients. Then he kind of clarified it, and it was more about attracting younger therapists, because he was saying just younger folks in general have, what did he say, like they have like issues with commitment or something like that. But I thought he was talking
You
about
can go back
patients.
there.
And with Craig, like they're doing on-demand mobile home visits. So I was kind of like, Craig, which type of younger kid that's in their teens or 20s or 30s even is looking for mobile home visits where he's at? And I think he's in Kansas City because he's a Chiefs fan. But um, I don't know if you caught any of that with Craig. I thought
Yeah,
he
I
clarified
did.
that he was talking about more like attracting younger therapists. But yeah, either way, it doesn't matter. Like if you're trying to attract a 20, 30-year-old therapist or a 20 or 30-year-old patient or client, like either way, we gave some great tactical examples. Like you have to kind of know what gets them to click, what gets them to lean in, what gets their attention. It's definitely different than 40 or 50-year-olds.
And even with the new organizations, like I don't know the acronym and the name of it, but I know, a lot of people are talking about the new organization, kind of alternative to APTA. I don't know. I don't know who's involved. My from what I've seen, are they going to bring in younger, fresher people, clinicians? Are they going to support newer grads that want to get involved in that kind of stuff? Because
You,
there's no doubt, whether you support APTA or not, it doesn't matter. When you look across the spectrum of APTA, there's not a lot of young blood. There's not a lot of new ideas, and I think it's hard to attract young, excited, motivated clinicians when everybody talks about representation. There is no representation of that generation in a lot of these organizations.
yeah, so you're talking about United Physical Therapy Association, and as far as I know, their main goal is to raise money to then have money for lobbying, because their main approach, their main focus is to get the pay parity, or the, for private practices to get paid the same as the satellite outpatient physical therapy offices around the country. So we talked about it before. Instead of, $80, $90, $100 per visit, to be paid 270, 300, whatever per visit, which is what kind of apparently the outpatient offices of the satellite locations of hospitals are being paid. That's basically like the main focus of United Physical Therapy Association. To then circle back and answer what you were kind of hinting at. No, they're not going to have a younger focus to try to attract younger folks, because they're going after kind of an old issue.
Yeah.
They don't. There's no focus around younger therapists or younger folks to try to even attract them into the profession. It's more about the reimbursement, the payment reimbursement.
Let's wrap up today's session a little early, but
Sure.
I think if I was going to put, somebody kind of at the front of the line, Jeff Moore, Zach Long, their business, their organization, I would love to see them. I think they have the closest thing to finger on the pulse of where the profession should be going. Not worrying about battling for more reimbursement and more pennies on the dollar. And with that comes more regulation and more oversight. Like, I think Zach Long, Jeff Moore, I think those guys are doing it right. And I would love to see them put together an organization like that, full of like young, enthusiastic, excited people who don't even care about insurance reimbursement. They just want to go out there and do the best that they can do within the confines available. That's my parting shot. What you got?
Parting shot, you have to know your audience, know who you're speaking to, who you're trying to attract. And I love the examples that you gave, Tony, around, like, if you're trying to attract new therapists that are 20 or 30, or you're trying to attract new patients that are 20 or 30, or whatever age or whatever demographic, just, yeah, look where they're spending their time and attention on. Like, what YouTube channels are they looking at? What videos are they going after, and clicking on and learning from? Or even maybe the music, maybe you can get some idea with the music, and then what music are they listening to? Then you look at their the music videos, and then you see the type of clothing and branding that the artists are wearing, like Supreme and other brands or whatever. You can kind of learn a lot from that. You just have to kind of be persistent and go at it.
All right, guys, if you have specific topics you want us to discuss, do what Craig did, message us. You guys have our contact information. Let us know what kind of topics are interesting. And hey, the show is open. Like, if you guys want to come on, you want to talk to us, you want to join us, we love having guests. Go check out the Dave Kittle Show. Go check out PT Pinecast, Learn Medicare Billing. Dave, as always, thanks so much for being with me.
Thanks, Tony.